Welcome back into the Sports Source. Here you see what Tennessee and Iowa have done in bowls against the other team's conference. So Tennessee versus Big Ten, and now we're in a new world where if you just look this up online, somebody's probably going to say, well, Nebraska counts as Big Ten for all those games. Like, no, only since here. Maryland, when you played them in the that was not Big Ten. So you have to be careful and go through it line by line on your own, which is time wasted. Tennessee 11-5 versus the Big Ten all time. Their last matchup against the Big Ten, they lost to Purdue 48-45. Josh Heupel's first bowl game at Tennessee with that controversial call down at the goal line at the end of that game. Iowa 6-6 versus the Southeastern Conference. Their last bowl game against the SEC was last year when they beat Kentucky 21-0 in Nashville. All right, let's take a look at the results of our poll. All right, 66% of you say, I'm viewing this as a scrimmage. It's a scrimmage for 2024. 34% of you say, no, it's important for 2023. I would love to put this same poll up moments after the game goes final and see what people are saying then. All right, let's take a look now.
Yeah, those opinions are result pending.
Yeah, yes, exactly. All right, here's what Iowa did. They were 10-3 this year. They were the Big Ten West champs. The number over there on the far left, I'm not a big believer in ESPN's FPI, but that's the numbers as of Thursday when I made this graphic, just to give you some idea of the teams they played and where they ranked. You see the three losses are kind of there in that peachy beige color. Lost to Penn State 31-0, lost to Minnesota 12-10, lost to Michigan 26-0, but that was the product of a lot of turnovers. But I wanted to see, I've heard this all for weeks now, well, they haven't played anybody. So how do you factor for that? Well, what I did was I went and I took Iowa's game out of each of their opponents' numbers. And I wanted to see how did these offenses perform against other defenses when they weren't playing Iowa, and then compare that to when they played Iowa. And what I found was only Michigan State hit their average on the year. Penn State, who blew them out, was a touchdown below their average. Michigan, 12 points below their average. Iowa foes in general scored 13 points per game less against Iowa than they did against their other competition. To me, that's a hell of a stat. I mean, Tennessee's at like six better. You would expect some improvement. 13? That's pretty jarring. So my question is, are we supposed to just look at this and say, Big Ten West, Big Ten speed, it's not good enough, too slow? Or do we look at it and say, that may be true in general, but look at these numbers. These numbers matter. Where are you? Legit, or it's a little doctored?
No, they're legit. I do think that Iowa, a lot of times when people talk about the Big Ten and say, well, they don't have any athletes, they're slow. That doesn't apply to Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, right? They have elite athletes. This Iowa team is slow, but that doesn't mean they're not good. And it doesn't mean that they don't make up for the fact that they don't have that level of athleticism by being able to just whip their man that tries to block them over and over and over again. And that's what they do, is win their me versus you battle, which is a lot of it when you talk about football is who wins that me versus you battle. Tennessee struggled with that this year. That's what Iowa's bread and butter is. So I do think that Tennessee's going to be not just below their average. I think they're going to be well below their average in this game. That Iowa defense is legit, but Iowa doesn't have a ton of athletes either, though. Both can be true.
Tennessee averaged about 31.5 points. So you take 13 off there, you're looking at 18.
Absolutely.
That's enough. You win 18-16.
Yeah.
There you go. Josh.
Yeah, I think it matters. What your performance versus expectation is a real factor. So it can absolutely be true. Yeah, Nebraska, Minnesota, which was a loss, but they didn't score a lot of points in that game. Those type of opponents are not overly impressive, for sure. But if you made them worse than they typically are, that to me says something. Tennessee's offense this season, they were close to top 15 in total yardage as an offense, but closer to 40th in scoring offense.
Yeah.
Well, what matters? Do you put points on the board? So red zone comes back into play. So if Iowa is able to take advantage of some of the issues that Tennessee has shown, and then some of the personnel issues, young players out there, that's one of your concerns going in, a veteran, well-coached defense against an offense still trying to prove itself and figure things out.
All right, very good. Tell you what, let's save some time. We'll come back after this segment. And when we come back, we'll talk about some of the biggest names in Vol football history that played in the Citrus Bowl. There have been some legends for Tennessee players. We'll show you next. Come on back for a little walk down memory lane. Then we got predictions and everything else to come on the Sports Source. Come on back.